Hello and welcome. Today is 25th of May 2018. You are watching my finance teacher video on YouTube or on DTube or wherever you are watching it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I would appreciate that a lot. Now, I want to talk about Bitcoin today, and I want to remind you of one thing in relation to Bitcoin chart. And we've talked about this before, so this is a reminder. Bitcoin, as well as many different kind of other assets, follow some cycles in their price performance. Looking at Bitcoin chart going back for over a year, this is going back only a year on the screen, but you can see this similar pattern with similar length cycles going back to sort of April 2017 or so. We see that Bitcoin price generally follows cycles that last for, well, a couple of months, sometimes a month and a half, and a couple of months again. So I wanted you to remember this. I wanted to remind you about it because, of course, we want to take into account as much information as we can when we make our forecasts, when we make analysis of the Bitcoin price, and possibly some investment decisions in relation to that. So keeping in mind those cycles that last for about a couple of months, sometimes a month and a half, sometimes 2.5 months or so, we can see what's been happening to Bitcoin over the last several weeks and make some sort of a forecast of where Bitcoin might go over the next several weeks again. Well, this current cycle seems to have started somewhere in early April. So either sometime nowadays or in early June would be the time when the cycle should sort of finish with a local low of some sort. And at that moment, Bitcoin would move into the next rally. Whether that rally is going to be strong or not, that is a separate question. So cycle is about to finish, but there might still be a couple of more weeks of downward side movement in Bitcoin as it retests this breakout out of this bear market downtrend line. We still might go down to this bear market downtrend line to retest it and see if that support holds or not. Let's have a look at Fibonacci numbers and see if they are going to tell us anything interesting. Well. Look at this number here, 78% retracement is often either a support or resistance zone. In this case, we are coming from the upside, so it might turn out to be a support zone. Actually, yesterday, Bitcoin sort of bounced from close to that number. I could sort of deem it close enough. And if Bitcoin stays above, what is that here, 7,200, above $7,200, then there is a slight chance that this current cycle has finished. It has been relatively short, a month and a half or so, and there is a slight chance we might enter a new cycle, move up to retest the 200-day moving average, for example, within the next rally over the next several weeks. Frankly speaking, I'm not really convinced by this scenario. I would give it, well, let's say 30% chance or so. What I think is more likely to happen is if Bitcoin breaks down below 7,200, there's not much support below that until we reach this recent low of around 6,500, and a couple of months, several months before that, we also had some sort of a significant low at about $6,000. So what also might happen to Bitcoin is it's going to continue moving down for another several weeks until sort of early June, and that will give us 2 months long cycle. and that will allow Bitcoin to actually retest this bear market downtrend line. And at that moment, I think a bounce up again to retest sort of 100 or 200-day moving averages, a bounce up to, let's say, at least 8,500 is more likely. I would give this scenario 60-70% chance. So this is a more likely scenario that I expect. Moving on to the weekly chart, I think we can see something here as well. Here, this is a weekly chart. Each candle represents 1 week. So while I draw this pattern here, give me a second for that. Well, what we see here is a descending triangle on the weekly chart. And this sort of supports our second scenario, where Bitcoin continues down for another several weeks into, well, early June or so, retests the bear market trend line, retests the lower part of this triangle. After that, as I mentioned, we might rally into, again, that's a 20-week moving average, which is 100-day moving average. So we might rally into either 100 or 200-day moving average, something like that. That would give us something around 8,500 or so. And having hit the resistance zone again of those moving averages, as well as the upper range of this triangle, Bitcoin might actually break down in a sort of end of summer or so, because generally descending triangles, that's what they do. In a descending triangle, very often price breaks down. So where would I expect a low? Somewhere near the end of summer. Well, 5,000 seems to be a good number. There was a top over here last summer at about 5,000 or so, just before the China ICO ban news came out. So that might prove to be some sort of a support line, support zone from that top at about 5,000. And that would agree with this scenario of descending triangle pushing the price down. And after that, I probably will expect a nice rally taking place, because by then Bitcoin would be stretched far below the 200 or 100-day moving averages, and it might rally back strongly in its mean reversion sort of tendency, maybe hitting close to 10,000, but that's sort of uncertain for now. In either case, I am quite interested in your opinion, so share your opinion down in the comments. I try to answer each comment, and hit the likes under the video. Those are appreciated as well. Thanks for your attention.